Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would sit down and do another video for you guys and gals. Let me get a sip of my water first. My beautiful radio voice going. Let's talk about this. Hold on, check forearms. Forearms are on point. All right, so I want to chat with you guys a little bit about PUFAs, or polyunsaturated fats. That would be omega-3 and omega-6, and why they're important for those of us who lift. All right, something, and I want to differentiate this point. I usually tell people that when you are trying to lean bulk, you want to drop your dietary fat as low as you possibly can. And I oftentimes, and I've done this myself, I've advised it to clients for lean bulking, you want most of your calories from carbohydrates, and you want your fat as low as you can get away with while maintaining health. But keep in mind that is for lean bulking. I will still say to those people, adding in a small amount of omega-3 is a wise idea. And I don't care if you're adding it in the form of some flaxseed oil, some walnuts, whether you're eating fatty fish, or if someone wants to do really high dose fish oil, because again, at low doses, it doesn't seem to do much of anything. Get the extra strength ones too. But those are all options. But keep in mind, I usually tell people even 20 to 30 grams a day, probably as much as you want when you are trying to lean bulk. And people are like, that's ridiculously low. I'm like, yeah, but you also don't gain body fat significantly when you bulk, or your body fat gain is very, very, very slow even when you're force feeding calories. And I think the difference there is that you have the training resources to handle it, because you are creating such an energy surplus. Even though a lot of it's getting burned off, the muscle recovery and everything and all the IGF-1 produced tends to be phenomenal for recovery. Okay, it tends to be phenomenal. But even then, you still might run into some tendon and inflammation issues. Again, that's why you probably need it to be as clean as possible so that you get a lot of antioxidants and stuff in the diet. Now, let's take that scenario away. Let's say that you are recompositioning. I'm a big fan of recomps. Or let's say you're going to cut. We don't care about that same situation as much. Why? Because we're not worried. We're not in an energy surplus, so therefore we're not worried about fat calories accumulating. Furthermore, polyunsaturated fats tend to increase fat burning way more than other fats. So keep in mind, on a calorie for calorie basis, they're probably slightly less fattening anyways. However, again, if we don't have a calorie surplus and we're training hard, you're not gaining body fat. Let's be perfectly clear there. If you are training hard enough to stimulate any sort of muscle growth or adaptation, and you are not in a calorie surplus, you are not gaining a single drop of body fat at all. I don't care how much fat you eat at that point. It's just not happening. Therefore, we don't need to worry about fat intake as a negative to the same degree as we do when we're in a calorie surplus. Does that make sense? So then we would step back and say, okay, what are the benefits at that point? And this is where we need to think about polyunsaturated fats a lot. Because number one, they reduce inflammation, right? Other types of fats can increase inflammation, particularly saturated fat. That is well documented in the literature, increases inflammation overall. Omega-3s reduce inflammation, they're anti-inflammatory. Omega-6s are just not as much so as omega-3. Monounsaturated can be a mixed bag depending on the exact source. Still in that healthy area though. Again, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil or some macadamia nuts, definitely not a bad thing. But we're really looking at those others. And when I say that I'm talking about healthy sources, I am not telling you to go drink a bottle of canola oil. Okay, I'm talking about whole food sources. I'm talking about from fatty fish. I'm talking about flaxseed. Flaxseed oil, though, is great if you can get the cold pressed. I drink that myself right now. I mix it in food. Walnuts. Yeah. Even ground. I have milled flax seeds in my freezer. Stuff like that. Extremely useful for controlling inflammation. Okay, that is a big deal for our training recovery. So one of the things that I have a lot of people, they notice that immediately, if you're training hard and you start adding significant amounts of these polyunsaturated fats to your diet, particularly a focus on the omega-3, they notice very quickly their tendons and joints and stuff feel better. All right, that's kind of a big deal. If we're not in a surplus, we don't have all those calories to facilitate recovery. Right? So things like a dietary effect that will control inflammation will let us train harder and recover from it faster. Why I tell people antioxidant status matters. This is why your fruits and vegetables are extremely important. It helps lower that inflammation. It lets us recover quicker. And not just our muscles. Yes, if our muscles recover quicker, we can train harder, we can train sooner, we can do more, right? So we can gain more muscle. But on top of that, the anti-inflammatory effects of these polyunsaturated fats will facilitate that, and not just in the muscles. It also helps with things like tendons. It's one of the things that we notice, because usually what is tendonitis is usually out of control inflammation in a tendon, right? That destroys your training. You start getting elbow tendonitis, watch how quickly your tricep extensions and bench press go to crap. You start getting patellar tendonitis in your knees, good luck with heavy squats and leg presses for a while, right? It will limit your force production. Okay, it's not just a matter of trying to train hard. Tendons that hurt, your brain will start shutting off muscle fibers. It will start reducing your access to the upper threshold motor units and muscle fibers as a safety response. So getting that inflammation controlled will help you to train harder. It will help reduce soreness from training. It will help all these things that let us get back to training harder sooner. And on top of that, even if it doesn't, then you just feel better. Because if you could do the same amount of hard work and not hurt, don't have as much DOMS, your tendons don't hurt, your joints don't hurt, guess what? Your quality of life goes up. They make a lot of sense, and I think particularly when we start going into calorie deficits, which is like I'm doing right now. I'm slow cutting again. So we're seeing the scale go down. We're seeing my body fat go down. I increase my polyunsaturated fats dramatically. Dramatically. Guess what? I feel better. My tendons feel better. My joints feel better. For me as a master's lifter at 47, that is kind of a big deal. Now, then we come over to the insulin sensitivity side. These fats improve your insulin sensitivity. They improve your lipid profile. They tend to lower triglycerides. They tend to lower LDL. They tend to raise HDL, your good stuff. Okay, so they're cardioprotective. They're protective against diabetes. They're protective against cancers because of the improved insulin sensitivity. And improved insulin sensitivity enhances body composition. If we have a higher insulin sensitivity, burning fat is easier, gaining muscle is easier. Right? This is an all-around win. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.